everybody has been waiting for. We are just minutes away from the beginning of this fight. You recall that on July 8th of this year, Denis Sigouin knocked Chris Clark out in the 8th round, 2:55 of the 8th round, with 5 straight right hands. Sigouin has won every one of his fights by a knockout. He desperately wants the title tonight from Ricky Anderson. We are expecting a classic fight. My name is Bill Maiden, and working with me tonight, Norman Meekison, who is the brother of Jerry Meekison, who is going to be making a comeback in January, but of course our attention is focused here tonight on Anderson and Sigouin. First of all, Norman, there's some tremendously bad blood between these two guys. A lot of animosity on the part of Sigouin for Anderson. He really feels he deserves that title.
Exactly. Denny has come into this fight as the person who's not supposed to be respected, the bad guy. Denny's made the statement since August that Ricky Anderson has no heart, and he's looking to come in to stop Ricky Anderson in this fight.
You recall that this fight was originally scheduled for September 30th, but it was postponed because Anderson developed stomach problems. And certainly Sigouin, who I spoke to a couple of weeks before the fight, was as ready as he ever was going to be for it. He was tremendously let down when that fight was postponed. Do you think that's going to have any effect on him tonight? Do you think he can get himself up to the same level that he was at for that September 30th fight?
Well, I don't know exactly how far or what level he was at on September 30th, but I think this postponement only made him better and only made him have more revenge for Ricky Anderson. I think that he's going to come in and he's going to be the aggressor throughout the fight to see if he can back Ricky up and stop him. Wins his fights by knockouts. With a record of 13-6, most of his fights, or all of his fights I should say, are by knockout. 13 fights, 6 losses, 13 by knockout.
Well, there can be no denying that Denis Sigouin is a determined fighter here this evening. I think this fight can be divided up into 2 areas. Over the first, I think Ricky Anderson has to get to Denis Sigouin early and put him away. The longer you leave Denis Sigouin in the ring, the more chance that he is going to do damage to you. If this fight goes beyond 8 rounds, I look for Denis Sigouin to be behind, well behind on points, and desperate for a knockout. I look for the animal to come out in Denis Sigouin, and if it goes past 8 rounds and into the 12th round, we are going to have a war.
Okay, Joe, we call it 146.
Minus. Little less than that.
Yeah.
But
Anderson, 146.
Ricky Anderson, 146.
Up you go, dude. Al, 146. Denis Sigouin, 146.
What are you predicting for tonight?
Well, it all depends on Ricky, you know. Definitely, I didn't come here to win decision. I want to hurt him bad, real bad this time. I really want to put him away, and, you know, I want to go back home with the belt, that's for sure.
There you look at it, the main event, welterweight championship, Ricky Anderson and Denis Sigouin. It's scheduled for 12. And we are just seconds away from the start of this fight. I'm Bill Maiden, and working with me, of course, as we have been working all evening, Norman Meekison, and quite a build-up to the entry by both these fighters. Sigouin, conspicuous by his applause for Anderson when Anderson entered the ring. This is what he's been waiting for. You get a look there at Ricky Anderson. I said, Norman, that if this fight goes past 8 rounds, that I expect that Sigouin will be behind in points.
Well, he'll definitely be behind in points, Bill, but the thing is, when Denny fought Chris, he was up to the 8th round. People figured Chris would coast another 2 rounds and take the decision. Never at any time count Denis Sigouin out the big punch can land at any time.
Well, this is exactly the point. There you get a look at the belt, and I look, if Sigouin is behind after 8 rounds, and if Anderson has not taken him out, I look for an animal to come out of Denis Sigouin, and this will be, if it goes that far, a very entertaining few rounds of the fight. Anderson's best shot, I think, is not to waste any time with Sigouin, take him out as quickly as he possibly can, because the longer a fight goes, the more it favors a slugger.
Well, definitely, if Ricky can take Denny out as fast as he can, but a fighter's got to look at 2 things. One, when he's taking him out, he's got to be as cautious as he can. If you drop your guard against Denis Sigouin, the fight could end.
Well, the fighters have their gloves on, and we are just minutes away.
Is under the supervision of the Nova Scotia Boxing Authority, Chairman Eric Thompson, and the Canadian Professional Boxing Federation, Albert Napper, supervisor. The timekeepers are Curly Alvar, Billy Alvar, and Glenn Alvar. The ring positions, Dr. Ernie Johnston and Dr. Ron Paisley. The judges are Fred Wilson, Buster McNeil, and Ron Bryden, and the referee is Hubert Earl. Well done for the Canadian welterweight boxing championship. In the blue corner, he weighs 146 pounds with a professional record of 13-6 from Hull, Quebec, Denis Sigouin.
Well, Denny's taking all the bad crowd here is against him. When he came into the ring, the crowd was for him.
From Halifax, he weighs 146 pounds with a professional record of 17-2, the welterweight champion of Canada, Ricky Anderson.
Well, to say there's bad blood between these two is an understatement. Sigouin has been taunting Anderson since he got in the ring. You saw him clapping for Anderson at the introduction, but now the talk is over, and the fighting is about to begin. And we should have what shapes up to be probably one of the best fights we've seen in Halifax in many a year.
Well, I think this fight will probably go back to the matchup between Clyde Gray and Chris Clark.
It has that possibility, definitely. Anderson, of course, you remember, Anderson not a quick starter. Chavez took him out in the first round. He lost his title to Chavez. He lost to Poole. There you get a look at Sigouin. There's what might be his Achilles heel, that scar tissue under his eye.
Well, I talked to Denny, and he said that none of his fights, the 6 losses that he has had, none of his fights have been stopped on cuts. He's lost all decisions in the other man's hometown. So right now, I wouldn't be worried that the fight would be stopped on cuts at this period of time.
He lost to Poole in the 10th round. He had Poole beat, and Anderson ran out of gas, so stamina certainly could be a factor here tonight. This is scheduled for 12, and this place is really alive. We've had an excellent undercard of 4 previous fights. The crowd is revved up, and the talking is over, and let the fighting begin. Hubie Earl is the 3rd man in the ring, and here we go with round 1.
Ricky's very cautious. He's got his hands up high. He's not carrying anything low. He knows that Denis Sigouin's got the power.
Anderson, the consummate boxer. Good power in both hands. Uses both hands equally well. Soft southpaw.
I think let's look back to the last fight that Ricky Anderson had against a very big puncher, Donnie Poole. He took Donnie Poole 10 rounds. He cut him up around the eyes, and then again, Donnie Poole came back when Ricky got tired and stopped Ricky in the 10th round. This fight could, image that fight in the same way.
Sigouin, of course, the right hand is his bread and butter. That's the punch that is so devastating that has knocked out 13 opponents. The last one being Chris Clark in this very building on July the 8th. And you can be sure that Anderson has seen the tapes of that fight many times.
One thing you got to watch, though, is Ricky's a southpaw. This is Denny's second southpaw he's faced in his entire career. And you got to watch that sneaky left hand by Ricky Anderson. The power hand is very, very sneaky.
Both fighters are very, very cautious. Just past the halfway point of round one. Anderson on your left, Sigouin on your right. Bill Maiden with Norman Meekison. Anderson getting that jab in, measuring him. Sigouin with that distinctive ponytail.
Well, Chris tried to knock that ponytail out of place, and he couldn't, so let's wait and see if Ricky Anderson can do the same thing.
Anderson has been very, very quiet the last couple of weeks before this fight.
Well, Ricky had an outburst the other day at a post-fight weigh-in at the Sports Heritage Center in Halifax. Ricky and Denny almost came to blows, that face-to-face, and they were challenging each other.
But he has been generally very quiet. He hasn't said much to the press, and his concentration has been 100% on Sigouin. He knows that he has a formidable opponent in front of him.
Exactly. Ricky Anderson comes into the name of gentleman Ricky Anderson. Take nothing away from Ricky. He is a gentleman, and he conducts himself as a gentleman in and out of the ring at all times.
There's that sneaky left you were talking about, Norman, that drove Sigouin back against the ropes. There's the end of round one.
Well,
a little bit of
there's some bad
a
blood
little
here.
bit of extracurricular activity. Sigouin, the street fighter. You look at Denis Sigouin from Hull, Quebec.
The people working with Denny right now is his trainer-manager, Joey Sandulo. His assistant trainer is Marc Cadieux, and working as his cut man, who might prove very important in the fight tonight, is Hervé Hubert.
And what is it about Hubert? He is. You had an interesting statistic about Hubert and his working on cuts.
Hubert is excellent at closing cuts. The last fight with Chris Clark, Denny had cuts under both eyes and over both eyes, and Hubert managed to keep him under control.
And no fighter that Hubert has worked with, I understand, has lost a fight because of cuts.
That's true.
Correct?
That's true. Hubert has worked a lot of title fights, and he's managed to close cuts that seemed to have been impossible to close.
Okay, round two, after a very cautious first round. There you see that right hand by Sigouin. And Anderson keeping that left up very, very high around his chin.
Well, so far, round one was a chess match. I think you might see the same thing in round two. Neither fighter wants to come out right now and explode.
This fight scheduled for 12.
Ricky has made the comment several times since September that he wants to take Sigouin the 12-round route and actually give Denny a boxing lesson, or give him a beating, as he says it.
Well, one thing about Sigouin, he showed he could take a beating against Clark, and I really question that strategy. I think that if Anderson's got a chance to get rid of him, he should get rid of him as quickly as possible. Because, as I said, the longer this fight goes, the more dangerous a slugger like Sigouin becomes.
That's true, very true.
So I don't think Anderson's smart to pull that type of a strategy. However, he's the man in the ring.
Well, Ricky doesn't want to get tired. The thing is, he's been in some big fights with Donnie Poole, Ray Chavez when he won the title the first time, and he doesn't want to overextend himself and go full out, leaving himself open for, say, a straight right hand by Sigouin.
Anderson just measuring that jab. Anderson, the consummate boxer.
Ricky's trying to talk to Denny, to break his concentration.
Yes, he is. He's taunting Sigouin. He just snaps Sigouin's head back.
Yeah,
But
Ricky's,
don't. I was just going to say, don't be put off by that because Sigouin took a lot of those punches from Clark.
exactly.
Clark hit him at will for 6 rounds, and Sigouin really looked fresh after the 7th round or after the 8th round as he did after the 1st.
Well, Denny knows that if he goes to 12-round distance, he's not going to win the fight. So he has 45 minutes of boxing to get to Ricky Anderson. And I'm sure he will cut well before the 12th round. He'll be cut probably under both eyes, over both eyes, and hopefully say the fight isn't, stopping something like a cut.
Now Sigouin goes a little bit on the offensive.
Now Denny's taunting Ricky.
They're both gabbing. And Hubie Earl says, shut up and fight.
Well, that's what they're here to do, shut up and fight, so they want to get to it.
Winding down the end of the 2nd round. Canadian welterweight title is on the line here tonight at the Halifax Forum.
Then he always manages when he throws his right hand to throw another sneak right hand to keep Ricky off balance before Ricky lunges in with a shot.
I know one thing that Sigouin knows he has to do as we come to the end of the 2nd round is he has to be more successful at slipping punches than he was against Clark. I mentioned Clark hit him at will. And Sigouin just looked over at me and winked. There he is looking into our camera. Colin King has got the camera on him.
Well, Denny knows that he's come this far in his career. I don't think he can really learn anymore. What Denny has is that big punch, and he looks to land it whenever he can. So the thing is, slipping punches is something I don't think you'll see him do tonight.
There you look at Anderson, who is a study in concentration. He knows what's ahead of him, and certainly the build-up for this fight, for the fight that was originally scheduled, was very, very substantial, to the point where they had a guaranteed sold-out house. Tonight, it's not sold out, but there's a good crowd here, and we're getting ready now for round 3, scheduled for 12. Bill Maiden, Norman Meekison.
Ricky's landing like 3-1 shots against Sigouin, but then Seguin's holding back. You can see that right hand is always cocked and ready to go.
Well, that's what he did against Clark. He just held it back, and when the time was there.
I think most people sitting here on July 8th watched Denis Sigouin take a beating. They figured this kid had no chance. The first time we saw Denny here, he fought mysterious Billy Smith. He was being beaten for 4 rounds. He came back, he said, the hell with this. I got to knock this guy out, and he does it when he wants to.
Anderson getting through with that jab, scoring. Anderson's last fight was in the Halifax Forum here in March against Johnny Hebert, and he decisioned Hebert easily.
Exactly. When he decisioned Hebert, he went to full 15 rounds before...
12 rounds.
Oh, that's right. Full 12 rounds for winning the title on March. Denis Sigouin, though, has fought a lot of common opponents that Ricky's fought. He fought Johnny Hebert. He fought Johnny Hebert a year and a half ago. He went the 10-round distance. He dropped Hebert 5 times in the fight, but they gave the fight to Hebert in Montreal. Denny has also fought Ray Chavez. He fought Ray Chavez in a 10-round fight. He near had Ray Chavez out in the 3rd round, and again he went and slipped behind, lost the fight.
Now Sigouin with the hands down, and Anderson is very, very methodical. He's very cautious. He's not being lured into a slugfest with Sigouin.
I found out the other day, I was quite surprised. I didn't know that Denny's first fight, Denny fought Donnie Poole in his first pro fight and lost an 8-round decision to Donnie Poole.
Well, Poole was tough. He was tough
Very
in the
tough.
air.
And people will well remember Donnie Poole here.
Well, Anderson retired Poole. He broke his nose in 4 places and cut his eyes up, and Poole never fought.
He's fought once since, but I believe that he started bleeding at the weigh-in when he showed up, so they said, Donnie, I don't think you should fight anymore.
So Anderson can do damage, and right now he is methodically jabbing Sigouin.
Sigouin just landed with a nice grazing left hook on Ricky's jaw. It didn't take much effect, but I mean, Ricky was going backwards when the punch landed.
Well, you get a look again at Denis Sigouin's corner, and he looks pretty comfortable. He looks pretty calm. Sigouin realizes this fight has a long way to go. And Anderson's strategy so far, very cautious. Jab, keep the hands up, stay away from the right hand.
Exactly. That's the only way that Denny can win a fight, and he realizes it's by knockout. If he has to stick in there 12 rounds and take a beating, he will. And he might come back the 30 seconds of the last round and do it. You never know. Most people, though, watch for Denny's right hand. The other day, I asked him, I said, you know, what else have you got? And he said, well, I don't tell many people, but he said, I've been working on my left hook. And he said, most people don't expect me to throw a left hook. He said, but wait till you see it tonight.
Well, let's see what Sigouin does, and we come into the 4th round.
Ricky just let off with a straight right to the body.
There's Sigouin with the right to the head of Anderson. Anderson again with that jab. You notice the left hand, how high the left hand of Anderson, he's keeping it up high. He knows Sigouin has his power. He respects the power, and he's not going to be foolish enough to be drawn into a slugging match with him.
So far, what we've seen in the 4 rounds of this fight is Ricky Anderson's jab. It's a great jab, but Denis Sigouin hasn't countered with anything yet, and he hasn't won any of the 4 rounds.
3 rounds so far.
Denny just found the mark with the right hand, now an uppercut.
Now Anderson against the ropes.
Ricky just got caught with a right hook.
You see how quickly Anderson got off the rope, so he wasn't going to be a sitting duck for that.
Exactly,
that
but
right hand.
his knees
now
did
Sigouin is
buckle.
getting a little bit more aggressive, and they're starting to open up a bit more.
Ricky just acknowledged to Denny that they were good punches. He just caught Ricky with a straight right. I think
Now
Ricky just got hurt. Ricky just got hurt, and he's holding on. His legs are a bit rubbery right now. There, right uppercut. Denny just landed a right uppercut in a series of right hands.
Well, Sigouin smells blood. Anderson's got a jab and keep him away. Anderson now comes back with a little bit of his own.
Back with power. He's
got Sigouin in trouble.
A right hook. A right hook.
That stunned Sigouin. He's taking a standing 8 count. Anderson rallied nicely when it appeared that he was in trouble, and Sigouin was smelling a little blood. And Anderson now knows that he can go with this guy and he can hurt him.
If I was Ricky right now, I would settle down. I wouldn't go out thinking that he just had Denis Sigouin on the verge of winning. I would settle down.
Less than a minute to go in this 4th round. And Anderson really straightened Sigouin out with that left hook to the head. Right hook to the head, I'm sorry. Now Anderson again.
Well, the crowd is on its feet for this one. Most of them are standing, and they're all right behind this one.
Nice round of boxing. Went both ways. Sigouin had Anderson a bit of trouble against the ropes. Anderson was wobbly-legged, hung on. Then he came back with a right hook himself, and Sigouin had to take a standing 8 count. We've got ourselves a very good fight here tonight. And they're working on Sigouin in the corner.
Well, so far as you
There's
know,
Anderson. And Anderson, I think, has to feel pretty good about that because he answered Sigouin's first attack.
Working on the cuts for Ricky. If Ricky does cut, he's got a great cut man over in his corner. He's got Rudy Pilshy from Cape Breton, who has worked with Ricky throughout his career as his cut man.
Scheduled for 12 for the Canadian Welterweight Championship. And all of a sudden, this fight starts to heat up a little bit. Anderson with the jab and the left.
Just fell short with that left, straight power left.
Keeps Sigouin honest. That right got on the gloves, Sigouin.
Sigouin just came back with 2 solid right hands. Ricky is well aware of the power that Denny has.
He caught both those rights on the gloves. He's keeping that left up, which he has to do. He got caught in the 4th round for a minute, 2 seconds. This is quite a different fight than the Chris Clark-Sigouin fight. There's a lot more on the line here, for one
definitely.
thing.
The championship of Canada is on the line, and the difference in this fight is that Denis Sigouin is moving more in this fight. He stood toe-to-toe with Chris, and he took all of Chris's punches. You're not going to see him do it against Ricky Anderson because Ricky, one, is younger than Chris. He punches sharper than Chris, and he can do more damage, I believe.
Well, I'm sure Chris Clark is in attendance here tonight, and looking on with great interest. Anderson again snapping the head back of Sigouin. Nice combination.
Nice kill. He just took 2
left
shots.
hand. Sigouin says, come on, do it again. And Anderson does.
Anderson probably just delivered his 2 best punches of the fight so far, 2 straight left hands. And then he said, let's rumble.
Sigouin says, I can take your best shot, give me more.
Doesn't want to keep saying that too much.
But Anderson is fighting a smart fight. He's not being lured into a slugfest with Sigouin, which is exactly what Sigouin wants him to do. With less than a minute left in the 5th round.
Ricky's just peppering Sigouin up right now with right hand. The jab is incredible.
Well, this fight is going pretty well as I thought it would. Anderson beating up on Sigouin, scoring points.
Well, if I know Ricky Anderson's trainer, Rick McDonald, I think that this is the textbook fight so far for them. The first couple of rounds, figure out what Denny's going to do and just jab, move, and jab.
But do not count Sigouin out. There's the end of round 5. Good round for Anderson. There's Sigouin, it looks pretty fresh. Both fighters look good.
Denny's in incredible shape. He's not breathing heavy. The only thing he's got to worry about, and that Joey Sandulo, his manager, trainer, and his cut man is got to worry about is those cuts around the eyes. He has a lot of scar tissue around his eyes.
Well, so far he's clean around the eyes. There's, you get a look at Anderson, and he looks clean too. He hasn't been marked.
I've only really ever seen Ricky cut, I believe once in his career was a small little cut over his eye. But I mean, Ricky, I don't think, he's not susceptible to cuts.
No, he's not. And so far, Anderson is fighting the smart fight. He's very disciplined against Sigouin. You saw when Anderson got the combinations in. He got a couple of combinations, and Sigouin kept waving him on. Come on, come on, give me some more. And Anderson did not go after the bait. He just hung back and jabbed, as he's doing right now.
Well, we're at the halfway point of this fight, round 6 of a 12-rounder. And Ricky Anderson's following the book so far. He's moving, sticking with the jab, shooting the occasional straight left out.
Sigouin now with Anderson against the ropes, and Anderson is not going to hang against the ropes. It's the second time or third time he's been on the ropes, and each time he's been right off them. Almost a low blow by Sigouin.
Oh,
Good
nice
combination.
two right hooks by Ricky. Another straight power right hand, left hand by Ricky Anderson.
Anderson is scoring with both hands. That straight left is snapping Sigouin's head back as well as the right jab. Sigouin.
Oh, he just dropped
That's a
Ricky.
slip, I
with a
think. That's
surprise,
good.
a sneak right hand.
It's a sneak right? Or was it a slip?
That was a sneak right hand. Ricky, he's
Now,
got Ricky again.
Sigouin
He's got him hurt with the
Anderson in
left
trouble.
hand. Right hand.
Anderson is hanging on.
Anderson's hanging on. Denny just landed 2, 3 right hands, backed him into the ropes, and he was near ready to fall.
You see the killer instinct that Sigouin has. When he smells blood, he goes right after it.
Ricky's trying to shake the effects off right now. You can see it in his eyes. He's trying to shake it off. They look a bit glassy, his eyes. Another right hand by Sigouin.
Look
3,
at
4.
look at the right hand. Now Anderson in the corner, and he goes after Sigouin to get out.
Well, Denny told me a couple of days ago he wanted to drop Ricky Anderson right in his corner, in his trainer's lap. He almost just did it.
A little storm here, and Anderson is weathering it so far. We're almost at the end of round 6. And Anderson,
There another straight, 2 straight rights by Sigouin.
but look at the jab. Anderson answers back.
Just opened up with a straight left. Sigouin's taking these punches as if there were nothing. But there's power in those punches. You can see that Ricky's putting everything he's got behind them.
Anderson is really rallying nicely. That's the second time in this fight he's been in trouble, and both times he's come back. Round 4 and now round 6.
Ricky looks like he's cut around his right eye.
There's the end of round 6. And give credit to both fighters. Sigouin,
Denny is now cut under his right eye.
that's right, he is. And there you get a look at Anderson, and he looks okay. But Sigouin had Anderson in trouble in that round, and Anderson hanging on, but he used his experience. He hung on, he got off the ropes, and then he went to work himself and scored with a couple of nice combinations on Sigouin. So give Anderson credit.
Well, I personally
both of them credit.
I give both of them credit, but I give that round to Denis Sigouin. He pushed Ricky into the ropes. He dropped him back with a couple of right hands, and he dominated that round.
Well, we are now at the halfway point of this fight. And I think when Sigouin sees that he is hopelessly behind on points, or way behind on points, and being cut, that you will see a very desperate Denis Sigouin.
Then he just let off with another right hand.
In spite of the cut, there's a little bit of swelling under the right eye of Sigouin. But in spite of that, he is very fresh.
Exactly. The swelling that's under his eye right now is nothing compared to what was under his eyes July 8th when he fought Chris Clark.
No, he's in no danger at all, cut-wise.
I think Dr. Johnson or Dr. Sebastian made the comment July 8th when they examined Denny's eyes after the Clark fight. They've never seen skin on a face like that before. They opened the cuts with their hands and they let them go and no blood came out of them.
Anderson with the combination. Keeping the jab at Sigouin's face.
Ricky's eye is definitely cut around. He's definitely cut. To me, from this vantage point, it looks badly around his right eye. Whether it be from a left hook, or I don't know what Denny threw to open a cut like that. The doctor was up to his corner already, in Anderson's corner, looking at the cut.
But he doesn't look to be in any danger, but Anderson is working on that right eye with the jab.
Well, the thing is, though, the blood in Ricky Anderson's, if the blood is dripping down Anderson's eye, they will stop this fight. Like the last fight we saw where Danny Winters had his eye closed, there was no visible blood in the eye, so they let the fight continue. But once blood drips into the eye, they can stop the fight.
Past the halfway point of round 7. We're scheduled for 12. It's a Canadian welterweight championship. It's all on the line here tonight at the Halifax Forum.
Oh, beautiful straight left by Ricky Anderson. Nice combination.
Anderson was in trouble twice in this fight so far, the 4th round, the 6th round, but he rallied both times and came back strong. And now he's tattooing a jab on Sigouin's face with that right hand.
Well, Chris did it for 8 rounds, and the result was Denny coming back and stopping Chris. But then again, Ricky's faster than Chris, he's younger, and he punches more sharper.
You can see Anderson just piling up the points. We've had a fantastic card here tonight. Sonny McPhee is to be congratulated for putting together this type of a card. We've had great boxing entertainment, and it's not over yet. There's the end of round 7. And Anderson, very, very strong in the boxing skills. He's out-punching Sigouin probably 6, 7, 8 to 1. They're trying to get a look at Sigouin's face, but you see the trainer standing in front of Sigouin. Colin King is the man with the camera there. Brett Smith is in the control room. The guys at Halifax Cable are bringing this fight to you in their usual impeccable style. And so far, this fight has been going along fairly.
Well, Rudy Pilshi's over there working on a cut now. It's right on the top of Ricky Anderson's eyelid. If the cut continues to bleed, and I've seen from other fights on TV and here in Halifax, they will stop a fight if it bleeds into the eye.
Well, this fight is predictable because Anderson is piling up the points. As we start the 8th round. I'm impressed with Anderson's discipline.
Oh, he's fighting a textbook fight.
He is fighting a textbook fight so far.
Ricky Anderson and his trainer, manager, Rick McDonald, have worked very, very hard for this fight. They knew that Denis Sigouin was coming up. Right after they won the fight with Johnny Herbert, they won the title back in March. They knew that Denis Sigouin was looming on the horizon, that he wanted the shot, and they prepared for him.
You get a look at the inside action. There's Anderson with the good right hook. There's a
Right hook, left hook. Now he's opening up the combination just coming.
Anderson scoring.
Uppercuts, right hooks.
And Sigouin says, come on, give me some more.
I don't know how much Denis Sigouin can take. It's almost hard to believe a guy can take that much punishment.
Well, he's tough. Sigouin, you can say what you want about Sigouin, but he is tough, and this is what makes him so dangerous, is you can beat him all over the ring for 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds, but he's got that right hand that's dropped 13 people. So he's never out of the fight. And Anderson right now is just scoring at will. But Sigouin is still fishing for the right hook.
There's no letting back in Denis Sigouin. He comes, they get broken up by referee Hubert Earl, and he's right back in Ricky Anderson's face. He won't back up.
Well, he's a lot like Donnie Poole in that respect. Poole was on Anderson's chest the whole evening, and he took a tremendous beating, but he was hanging in for that one shot, and he got it, and Anderson was out in the 10th round.
And the thing is, Donnie Poole, a good fighter, does not punch as hard as Denis Sigouin does.
You're right about that, and Anderson is showing him the proper respect.
Did anybody think they'd see July 8th Chris Clark get knocked down in the fight by Denis Sigouin after Denis Sigouin trailed for 8 rounds and get knocked down and not continue in a fight?
And that was a 2:55 in the 8th round.
With 5 seconds left in the round, he still couldn't continue, even if he would have had the rest period between rounds. Talking to Chris and some people that he talked to after the fight, Chris said his head literally exploded with those punches.
It did explode. They were tremendous shots. And that's why you never count Sigouin out. Winding down to the end of the 8th round. And another good round of boxing for Ricky Anderson.
Ricky and Denny are still taunting each other. Ricky's doing more of the talking and Denny's doing the following.
There it is. And the fans applaud. There you get a look at Sigouin, and he's got a little mark under his right eye.
Well, it was,
but it's nothing serious. I mean, it's not going to stop a fight or anything. Actually, he looks like Robert Redford at this stage of the game compared to what he looked like after 8 rounds against Clark.
Exactly. So
he's still in this fight by every stretch of the imagination. And Anderson, they're working again on his eye. It's not bothering him, but they're not taking any chances. There's Hubie Earl, the 3rd man in the ring.
There is a sizable cut, though, under Ricky Anderson's eye. I can see it right from here, right across the ring. There is a sizable cut on his eyelid.
I would think that Anderson will stay with his game plan. It's working for him. He'd be silly to deviate from it. But I look for Sigouin now to get a little bit more aggressive here, because I think he sees that he's behind on points and he's going to keep getting tattooed if he doesn't get a little more aggressive and start to go for broke.
Well, he's got 3 more rounds to prove that he can knock out Ricky Anderson, or Ricky's got 3 more rounds to prove that he is still the welterweight champion of Canada.
Round 9. Scheduled for 12. And there's Sigouin trying to get the right hand in. Anderson with a good right hook to the head.
It almost seems like Ricky is saying to Denny right now is, come on, you want to fight? Fight. Every time Ricky throws a right hook, a straight left, he's saying to Denny something like, do you want more? Or he's just taunting him right now.
Well, he doesn't want to get careless. With all due respect to Anderson, he does not want to get careless. Stay with this game plan. Keep your concentration sharp. Keep jabbing. Keep scoring. He doesn't have to knock Sigouin out. He only has to win the fight.
Well, that's true. And that's what he said he would give Ricky. Ricky said he would give Denny a boxing lesson, and so far he has. This is round 9, and I give 2 rounds of this fight so far to Denny and the rest to Ricky.
Well ahead on points so far. Short right hook. There's a left.
Ricky just up, nice left uppercut.
You notice Anderson, he's got that left hand. He's not dropping his left. He's cognizant of that right. He's got this fight well in hand so far. There's a good combination to the body by Anderson. Scoring at will, but Sigouin has not been hurt appreciably. Although he took a standing 8 count earlier in the fight. Anderson again measuring him with that jab.
Like I said earlier, Ricky's landing eight jabs to 1 of Denny's punches, and they're bound to have taken an effect so far there. Ricky just landed with another power left hand. Denny's had mentioned that this is only his 2nd southpaw that he's faced, but he's got to realize that he's probably facing the best southpaw in Canada.
Well, that's right, he is. It's one of the top amateurs of his time. North American amateur champion in '81, Ricky Anderson was. If he had stayed as an amateur, he would have been a surefire member of the Canadian Olympic team, and he chose to turn pro. There you get a look at Sigouin, and you know, you look at Sigouin, he's a little frustrated, I think. He's not tired, but he's, and you see his eyes are in relatively good shape. He's got some swelling, and the trainer's working on it, but he's not in any serious shape as far as his eyes are concerned. But unless he does something offensively in the form of knocking Anderson out or dropping him, he's not going to win this fight because he's being thoroughly outboxed. And I think everybody expected that, Norman.
Oh, sure, because Ricky Anderson's fighting the textbook fight. The boxer is jabbing, moving, using the occasional power left hand, and he's dominating this fight.
Round 10.
All right, round 10. And I look for Sigouin now to come out a little bit more aggressive. He realizes
Oh, he
that
came
he's
right at
way
Ricky.
behind.
Denny came right at Ricky, tried to land a straight right.
Now Sigouin is becoming more aggressive. He can't afford to wait too much longer.
Exactly, and Ricky's proved that the longer the fights go, that Ricky sometimes gets tired. He gets stopped in the 10th round by Donnie Poole, and now Denny's coming out. I'm sure that he knows well about the Poole fight. Maybe he's trying to do the same thing in this round.
Well, he just threw about 3 uppercuts, 3 right-hand uppercuts, Sigouin did. So he's going for broke.
Well, he's got to realize 2 more rounds. He's got to...
And the rest of this one.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got almost, he's got 2.5 rounds of boxing. But he's got to start making some inroads soon.
Geez,
Good
Ricky just landed a
uppercut by
nice
Anderson.
Left uppercut by Ricky Anderson.
That snapped Sigouin's head back.
Denny's carrying his hands right down to his waist, which is a big mistake.
Now he's trying to get Anderson on the ropes. And Anderson is using his experience.
Ricky just said to Denny, come on, let's go.
Anderson, 3 or 4 jabs. Now Sigouin with the hands down. And it's good strategy by Anderson. As soon as he senses Sigouin coming into him, he goes into Sigouin.
Look at it, Denny's just taking punch after punch. He doesn't care.
Watch the right hand of Sigouin. It's knocked 13 people
He
out.
just took one of Ricky's best lefts, and it didn't even phase him.
That was a good-looking combination, like you said, by Anderson, Norman. That was... Anderson just keeping him away with the jab, but Sigouin is relentless, and that's good strategy that Anderson is employing. He's just clinching him when he comes in, beating him as he comes in, and then when he gets too close, he just clinches him. Now Sigouin with the right hand.
Sigouin just fell short with a right hook.
Anderson with the uppercut and the jab.
I think Ricky's making a mistake if he lays on the ropes against Denny.
Anderson now teeing off on Sigouin. But Sigouin is having trouble finding the range as we wind down to the end of the 10th round. A lot of people didn't think this fight would go that far. Anderson is fighting a smart fight. There's a good combination by Anderson, a right-left, and that snaps Sigouin's head. But you see how tough Sigouin is. He doesn't take a backward step.
Oh, he's very tough.
And that's what makes him so dangerous. Although Anderson is way ahead on points, Sigouin is not out of this fight.
Well, Sigouin's now cut under both the left and right eyes. It's not cuts that can stop the fights. They're under the eyes, and they can be brought down, the cuts.
And we have had a very entertaining night of boxing. You've almost seen now 3 hours of boxing if you've been with us from the start. And we're at round 11 here, and Ricky Anderson, if he can hang on, will easily win this fight on points. Sigouin's only hope is for a knockout. And I look for Sigouin at 11 and 12. I look for the animal to come out in Sigouin.
Well, if he's not going to show it in the 11th, you're going to see warfare in the 12th round. He has to come back in the next 6 minutes and do something.
Anderson, round 11.
Sigouin led off with 2 right hands, back Ricky into the ropes. Ricky should get off the ropes and move.
Now Sigouin, you can see he's getting more aggressive. Trying to get inside. That right landed on the gloves. So did that one.
Now Sigouin's opening up with that right hand.
And Anderson clinches again.
Ricky's still smiling at Denny. He's telling him the punches don't mean anything.
This has been a terrific fight. It's been everything that was advertised. The boxer, Anderson, against the slugger, Sigouin. Anderson with that left. Combination there, boy, scored with that left hand. Snapped his head back. But you look at Sigouin, he's relentless. Sigouin is not out of this fight until the last bell. Although Anderson has to have an overwhelming lead on points. Anderson's strategy is impeccable, Norman.
Well, let's say throughout this fight, he's fought a textbook fight. He's jabbed, he's thrown his occasional power hand. But I mean, Denny still keeps coming. I don't know where Denny gets the heart from. He's got an incredible heart.
He does have incredible heart. As I said, I'm impressed with Sigouin, regardless of what happens in this fight.
People say that Ricky Anderson can't take a shot. Tonight, he's proven that he can take shots. Up to this round so far, he's taken in some of Denis Sigouin's best right hands. He's still standing. He wants to keep the title. He wants to fight his textbook fight and give Denny the boxing lesson that he said he would give him.
There's the end of the 11th round of what has been a fine fight so far, and a fine card. I think it's the best card that I've seen here in Halifax in a long, long time, Norman. Would you agree with that?
I'd have
overall.
definitely agree with that.
It's been a terrific card, and you've seen some terrific boxing, and right now Ricky Anderson is 1 round away from winning, or rather maintaining, his Canadian welterweight championship. Look for Sigouin to come out with guns blazing, because he is way behind. He has no hope but to knock Anderson out.
I think what you're going to see Denny lead off with, as soon as he comes out for the 12th round, watch that he leads off with 2 right hands, possibly 3.
He's got to get Anderson in trouble, and then he's got to follow up. He had Anderson in trouble twice in this fight.
This is it right here. The crowd is going to get on its feet for the 12th and final round.
But Anderson rallied, came back, and ended both rounds 4 and 6 on a strong note. Here it is, round 12.
Denny's going to muscle Ricky around the ring.
You see that he's not going to let Anderson. He's not going to let Anderson clinch him. And Sigouin is upset.
Sigouin's mad. I really wouldn't be surprised if Denny does drop Ricky in this round.
They're right over us here. Sigouin does not want any more clinching.
Exactly. Denny's just a madman. It's now the 12th round. He has to knock Ricky out. He's behind on points. Well behind on points.
Every second that ticks down is dangerous for Denis Sigouin. Listen to the crowd.
Ricky's still fighting the textbook fight. The uppercuts, the jabs, the left hooks, the right hooks. He's doing it all still.
Anderson is fighting a beautiful fight here tonight. He has shown tremendous discipline in the ring.
He's still telling Denis Sigouin, come on, let's go.
And Sigouin is a madman in the ring. He's desperate.
Will Ricky finally get the respect that he deserves if he retains his title tonight?
Anderson showing tremendous boxing skills, combination after combination on Sigouin. But he hasn't, Sigouin is still coming at him. Sigouin is showing the heart of a champion, if not the skills of a champion. Anderson, again, inside
Ricky's
now.
putting everything he's got now. Last minute of the round, he's putting everything together.
Sigouin says, come on, give me more. This has been a classic 12-round welterweight title fight.
I don't think you'll see probably a better fight this year in Canada.
I agree with you. I don't think I've seen a better fight, period, this year. Canada or the U.S. This has had everything. Now the crowd starts to chant, and this fight is winding down. Less than a minute to go. And Ricky Anderson looks like he's going to retain his Canadian welterweight title. A tremendous performance by Anderson. And a performance full of heart by Sigouin. And it looks like it might be Anderson and Clark.
Well, it's definitely going to be Anderson and Clark at this point right now, but then again, Denis Sigouin will still be in the rankings right
And that's it.
fight. Take nothing away from Denis Sigouin.
That's it. And Anderson drops to the ground. Boy, what a fight. What a fight.
Well, the fans are finally behind Ricky Anderson. Will he get the respect that he deserves, or is it...
Anderson gets a standing ovation from everybody in the ring. Everybody in the arena, as well as everybody in the ring. And Anderson just fought a tremendous fight, and Sigouin, give Sigouin credit. He came to fight, Norman.
I've never seen a fighter with a bigger heart than Denis Sigouin. He came into Ricky's hometown, as he's gone into a lot of fighters' hometowns. He's lost the decision, but he still keeps coming.
There you get a look at Ricky Anderson, who has just completed his fight against Denis Sigouin, and it's going to be a unanimous decision, unquestionably, for the champion. Anderson fought a textbook fight. He fought a disciplined fight, and the two of them are embracing. I'm sure Sigouin has a lot of respect for Anderson, if he didn't respect him already.
Well, there's a lot of hostility before the fight. Sometimes it's to build up each other's egos. Sometimes it's to build up the gate of the fight. But after a fight, I'm sure both of these fighters can respect what they've just accomplished.
It was a classic welterweight title fight. And you said the best fight we've seen in Canada. I said probably the best fight I've seen all year, whether Canada or the United States. Certainly it had everything. It had a knockdown. Sigouin standing 8 count in the 4th round and the 6th round. Anderson was in trouble. He rallied. He put Sigouin in a little bit of trouble. It was a tremendous effort by both fighters, who displayed a tremendous amount of heart. And Sigouin, of course, does not have the skills of Anderson, but I'll tell you, as I said before, he's got the heart of a champion.
Definitely got the heart of a champion. He's got the biggest heart of any fighter we've ever seen.
We have a unanimous decision.
Well, there it goes. It's for Ricky Anderson with a unanimous decision.
Judge Foster Riccio scores at 119, 108. Judge Fred Wilson scores at 119, 110. Judge Rod Ryan scores 118, 109 for the winner. And still,
Well, Sigouin is clapping for Anderson. He knows that he was beaten by a better fighter. And it's a tremendous win for Ricky Anderson. I'm sure it's the best win of his career. Certainly a fight where he had to come through and show some heart against the consummate slugger in Denis Sigouin. But Sigouin could not get through. He could not drop Anderson with that right hand. And consequently, Anderson fought a very disciplined fight, stayed well within his game plan, did not get out of control and try and slug with Sigouin. And he's full measure for the fight, for the victory tonight, Norman.
Exactly. This fight was probably one of the best, like I say, fights we've seen this year in Canada. A fighter with a big heart and a fighter with a lot of determination, like Ricky Anderson, trying to get the respect of the fans in Halifax and fans across Canada. He has proven that he's one of the best around.
Well, that's it for our card tonight. We hope you've enjoyed over 3 hours of professional boxing, certainly 3 great hours of professional boxing here from the Halifax Forum. Once again, Ricky Anderson retains his Canadian welterweight title over Denis Sigouin. My name is Bill Maiden. I hope you've enjoyed the fight. For Norman Meekison, so long from the Halifax Forum.